Well, the current Liberty property portfolio, which is managed within the Stanlib direct property investments franchise, has grown to over 27 billion rand. The group will also launch the Africa Property Development Fund, which will provide potential investors with exposure to the continent. The company is looking at around 1.3 billion rand in equity in its first direct property fund in Africa. Chief Investment Officer of Stanlib's Direct Property Investments, Amelia Beattie, joins us in studio for more. These are exciting times for you. Can you take us through the rationale behind the Direct Africa Property Fund?
Thanks, Bronwyn, and thank you for having us on the show. The Direct Property Fund is a very important and exciting time for us. At Stanlib, as you know, we've got the listed property funds managed by Keelan & Lovo, so this is the first direct property fund that we're taking to the market. At the moment, we see a lot of opportunity in Africa, and the case for investing in direct property in Africa, specifically in the development space, is now. There's a lot of there's a lot of opportunities that we can that we're looking at. And
are you going to operate regionally? So you're going to look at East African play and a West African play, or will you be specifically country by country? So it'll be, you know, East Africa curtailed to Kenya before you move into Tanzania, Uganda. How are you going to look at the continent?
This fund will specifically invest in underlying developments in Nigeria and some in Kenya, specifically in Lagos and in Nairobi. So we have chosen specific developments in Nigeria that we will be investing in. And we've chosen some deals in Kenya and finalizing the others. So this fund will focus on those specific jurisdictions for now. And there are a lot of opportunities there, and a lot of the fundamentals in those countries are strong. And we believe that kicking it off from there gives us a good start and helps us to get this fund off the ground.
Chris, this is in line with many thoughts at the moment. You need to be on the African continent, investing directly, indirectly, in order to capitalize on the growth that you're going to see in the next 10 years. If you're not in there now, you're going to be left behind.
And you know, I remember not so long ago, 2 or 3 years ago, Whitey Basson at a ShopRite presentation saying to us, please, he wants the property developers in South Africa to come and start opening up in Africa, because trying to find property space in Africa was the devil's own job. And then more recently, I was speaking to, I had lunch with a property expert from Zimbabwe, and he said to me, do you know how many shopping malls there are in the whole of Africa outside South Africa? I said, 20, 25. He said, 5. I said, no, you can't be serious. He said, absolutely. And again, I think that highlights exactly what you're talking about. The potential is absolutely enormous. But having said that, there must be huge pitfalls that we haven't even thought of.
And well, challenges that you are dealing with.
Yeah. You know, talking about ShopRite, so they say on the African continent, 27% of the disposable household income is spent on groceries. So, I mean, that is it's a huge percentage of that spend. But 70% of that is spent in the informal sector. So
outside of the malls, you're saying?
Outside of a mall. So our biggest challenge, but also biggest opportunity, is to provide that modern shopping opportunity where we can convert those shopping habits from going down the street and buy all your stuff as you walk down to going to an aspirational environment where, you know, we provide all that stuff in one place. So that is really one of the drivers of wanting to invest in retail specifically. So our fund will focus on retail. In our Liberty property portfolio, you know, we've got big retail, we understand retail, and we want to stick to that. We're not going to all of a sudden branch off into another area. So we're looking at 15 to 20,000 square meters of retail on
Have you identified already where?
Yes, we have identified most of the opportunities. And we also like business hotels. And over the last 2 days, the African Property Summit was held at Sandton. And just before I came here, I listened to the hospitality experts talking, and the growth in business, the growth in the drivers that drive business hotels are really strong. And we want to tap into that market because we believe having an hotel close to our retail environments really work, because people can come there in the evenings and then they have the retail environments to go and do their dining at.
And I'm sure the hospitality experts that you were listening to have also alluded to the fact that hotels are incredibly expensive on the African continent. So there's certainly room to go in there and undercut significantly, but still make money.
Yes, absolutely. So what we're looking not at 4- and 5-star hotels where you spend $400-500 a night, but 2- and 3 business stars hotels that's got limited services and then can feed off the retail environments for those services.
Chris, is this something that you would look specifically to, exposure, an ability to get exposure to these direct property investments?
Oh, absolutely. But as you said right in the preamble, I think this is something that isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of time. And I find it fascinating to listen to Amelia there talking about the hotel side particularly, because for so long I've been talking to the City Lodge guys and saying, well, the rest of Africa must have enormous potential, and they've always said to me, yes, of course it does, but getting the sites, getting the ability to actually go in there, and I mean property itself. Determining who actually owns the property can be an incredibly difficult job. But I say, so definitely a great deal of interest, but I think huge.
Are you over those hurdles that Chris alludes to? Actually getting the property is going to be a challenge.
Look, we need to understand that in Africa, land tenure remains the biggest challenge, and we had spoken a lot over the last 2 days about those fundamentals and what is it that one needs to look at. So we're never going to be able to own the underlying land. So the key for us in doing this business is to ensure that we partner with the landowner, and the landowner actually becomes part of the development that we do. There's a lot of benefits in that. When you ensure that they understand the market, they are there, they are embedded in that market. And secondly, it's important for them that their development succeed, because they are also part of the development. So it's something that we very closely track and make sure that, in addition to managing the service providers and making sure that we have the right service providers with us in country so that we can get the correct service delivery, staying very close to the landowners, but not necessarily trying to control it all and hold it all, but to have a partnership arrangement.
So it's a real joint venture in every sense of the word.
It is real joint ventures, real partnerships, real starting of a whole new business economics really in those countries.
Where's the funding coming from?
We will be raising the funding externally, and some of the funding will come from within our own group, and the rest we are looking at raising from institutional investors. A two-pronged strategy, one being from investors on the African continent that wants to have exposure in Africa, also to benefit from the Regulation 28 exposures, and then more importantly, global money that's looking for investment in Africa. And it's been enormous the last 2 days, the inquiries that we received on that. People are really keen on...
The appetite is there.
The appetite is there. And, for the first time, actually, everybody is not just talking about it. Things are happening on the ground. And you get so inspired listening to the guys from Actors that's been being the kind of forerunners doing this over the last 8 years, and being excited about other big companies from South Africa now joining them, and all of us can work together to achieve these goals in Africa.
Are you going to deploy in both Nairobi and Lagos at the same time, or will you start with Nairobi and then go into Lagos, or the other way around?
I think we will do whatever makes sense at the time. We need to, finalize our capital raising and see where every project is. Obviously, pre-letting is a very important part of our strategy, making sure that we've got the retailers in place. And in some of the countries, the retailers are further advanced than in the others. So it will depend on all those factors being right at the right time, and then we'll deploy that way.